The quietest name in luxury. There are two kinds of luxury. The first wants to be noticed. Logos across the chest, bold patterns, instantly recognizable designs. You see it from across the room and immediately know the brand. In many cases, that visibility is the point. The second kind moves differently. It doesn't try very hard to explain itself. The branding is subtle, the colors are calm, and the design looks simple at first glance. But the details tell a different story. The fabric feels unusually soft. The stitching is precise. The proportions seem effortless, even though they're carefully engineered. It's the kind of clothing that reveals its quality slowly. If you recognize it, you recognize it. If you don't, nothing about it tries to convince you. This idea sits at the heart of what people today call quiet luxury. One of the clearest examples is Loro Piana. At first glance, the clothes appear understated. Neutral sweaters, soft coats, suede shoes with almost no visible branding. But behind that simplicity is something far more deliberate, an obsession with materials, patience, and craftsmanship that most brands never even attempt. Long before Loro Piana became a fashion label, it was something simpler, a textile company. The story begins in northern Italy, where the Loro Piana family had been working with wool for generations. By the early 1800s, they were already known as skilled traders, sourcing high-quality fibers and supplying them to textile mills across Europe. At the time, they weren't designing clothing. Their focus was much more specific. They were obsessed with materials. While many companies competed to produce fabric faster and cheaper, the Loro Piana family focused on something else entirely: quality. They spent decades building relationships with shepherds, farmers, and suppliers who could provide the finest raw fibers available. It required patience. The best wool often came from remote places, mountain regions, harsh climates where animals produced softer, stronger fibers as a way of surviving the cold. Finding those materials meant traveling far beyond the usual textile markets. Over time, the family developed a reputation within the industry. If you needed exceptional fabric, you went to Loro Piana. And that reputation slowly grew into something more powerful than fashion itself: trust. If most fashion brands begin with design, Loro Piana begins somewhere else, with the material. For decades, the company has searched the world for the finest natural fibers available. Loro Piana became known for pursuing fibers that are extraordinarily rare, often found only in specific regions, and produced in very limited quantities. One of the most famous examples is baby cashmere. Unlike regular cashmere, which is taken from adult goats, baby cashmere comes from the very first combing of young goats in Mongolia. Each animal produces only a tiny amount, and the fibers are thinner and softer than standard cashmere. Collecting it requires careful timing and enormous patience. Then there is vicuña. The vicuña is a wild animal that lives high in the Andes Mountains of South America. Its wool is often described as the finest natural fiber in the world. For centuries, it was reserved for royalty, partly because of how difficult it is to obtain. The animals cannot be farmed like sheep. They must be carefully gathered, sheared, and released back into the wild. The result is an incredibly rare material, and for Loro Piana, that rarity isn't a marketing strategy. It's the foundation of everything they create. Because the materials are so exceptional, the design at Loro Piana follows a very different philosophy. It stays quiet. Many luxury brands rely on bold visuals, large logos, distinctive patterns, dramatic shapes. Loro Piana rarely does any of that. Most of its clothing is deliberately understated. Soft sweaters, tailored coats, suede shoes, simple caps. At first glance, nothing about them seems extraordinary. That simplicity is intentional. The brand believes that if the material is truly exceptional, the design should not compete with it. Instead, it should allow the fabric to speak for itself. Some of their most recognizable pieces reflect this idea perfectly. The open walk shoe, for example, is a soft, suede ankle boot designed originally for life on yachts. It's comfortable, lightweight, and almost completely free of branding. Then there's the cashmere baseball cap. At first, it looks like an ordinary cap, but making one from delicate cashmere, something that naturally dislikes moisture and wear, is almost irrational. And that's the point. Loro Piana doesn't design for attention. It designs for the person wearing it. Because Loro Piana avoids obvious branding, its clothing rarely appears in the places where fashion usually demands attention. You don't often see it dominating red carpets. It isn't designed for viral moments or headline-grabbing runway statements. Instead, it shows up somewhere else. Private airports, quiet resorts, boardrooms where the conversations carry far more weight than the clothes people are wearing. Over the years, Loro Piana has quietly become a favorite among a particular group of customers, people whose wealth is already well established. Tech founders, investors, executives, and families whose fortunes stretch back generations. For them, the appeal is obvious. The clothing is comfortable, the materials are exceptional, and perhaps most importantly, it doesn't try to prove anything. Even in popular culture, the brand has come to represent a certain kind of power. In the television series Succession, many of the ultra-wealthy characters wear Loro Piana regularly. Soft coats, neutral sweaters, understated tailoring. Nothing flashy. That's the point. Within certain circles, those quiet pieces function almost like a signal, not of wealth exactly, but of something deeper: confidence, stability, and the luxury of not needing attention. For decades, Loro Piana remained a family-run company. Its focus stayed remarkably consistent: source the best fibers in the world, turn them into exceptional fabrics, and let the quality speak for itself. Growth came slowly and the brand expanded, but never at the expense of craftsmanship. Then, in 2013, a major shift happened. The French luxury group LVMH acquired an 80% stake in the company. At the time, Loro Piana was already respected within luxury circles, but the acquisition brought it into a much larger global ecosystem. For some observers, the question was obvious. Would the brand change? Large luxury groups often push for scale, visibility, and faster growth. But in Loro Piana's case, the strategy remained surprisingly restrained. Production methods stayed the same. The obsession with rare fibers continued. The collections remained calm, neutral, and quietly refined. Instead of transforming the brand, LVMH allowed it to remain what it had always been: a company built around patience, materials, and a very specific idea of luxury. In recent years, the phrase "quiet luxury" has started appearing everywhere. Fashion magazines talk about it, social media trends try to imitate it. Entire wardrobes are now built around the idea of neutral colors, simple tailoring, and understated elegance. But Loro Piana was never created to follow a trend. Long before the term became popular, the brand was already operating according to the same philosophy. Focus on materials, refine the details, and remove anything unnecessary. That approach is why Loro Piana often looks almost ordinary at first glance. A sweater is just a sweater. A coat looks simple. A pair of suede shoes seems plain. Yet the experience of wearing them tells a different story. The softness of the fiber, the way the garment moves, the quiet precision behind every stitch. These are things that rarely show up in photographs or social media posts. And that may be the most revealing part of the brand. Loro Piana doesn't try to convince the world that it's luxurious. It simply creates something exceptional and leaves it to the wearer to understand the difference. If you enjoyed this journey into quiet luxury, like and subscribe for more stories exploring elegance, scarcity, and timeless sophistication.